First of all, good evening, everyone. I'm Tanya McGinnis, Director of SAC. I'd like to thank you all for joining us for the third webinar in the Advanced Education series. Tonight, we're going to hear from Vice Admiral retired Mel Williams. He's a graduate of the Naval Academy, class of 1978, and is currently Associate Dean of Engineering at the Catholic University of America. He's going to discuss the topic, adding value to your career with graduate certificates. So now I'll hand things over to Dean Williams.
Thank you so much, Tanya. And many thanks to all the organizers and presenters and the participants for making this event happen. And I appreciate the opportunity to present. And hello, everyone, and congratulations on having been a graduate of a service academy and volunteering to serve our nation. As I'm in my 9th year in higher education, I sometimes remind some of the faculty, staff, and students about what it takes to go through a service academy. I remind them about the academic, athletic, and military requirements. I advise them about the internships that occur during most summers, the advising that first-year students get from upper class members, and also the guaranteed job that you have afterwards. And that life at traditional universities is really not quite as complex, but overall service academies are at the top, as you know, as you look at all the institutions of higher education. Now, something I got to get out of the way. Up front, thus far, this has not been the best year for Navy football. So we'll see how it's going to turn out, but that's the way it is for now. I'd like to say thanks to Kevin Kiley, who's presented the first 2 webinars, and his focus has been about how to get into grad school. He'll have another opportunity to convey information later in the series. And also Dr. Abby Kinch from Student Veterans Administration will also talk about how to fund grad school. But this presentation is about grad school academics. We'll discuss some food for thought about some of the academics that you may wish to consider, and how graduate education certificates can add value in your careers. And as I'm bringing up the slides, I'll just share a little bit about my background, not a lot, but as was mentioned, I served in the Navy for a while, and I was able to see the world through a periscope for most of my career. And then later, I was able to go topside and serve in the fleet and to do some other really exciting things. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Had a great time. After the time in the military, I decided to continue to serve, and I decided to go to the federal government at the U.S. Department of Energy. So I was able to serve and support the people at the U.S. Department of Energy for a couple years. They're great people, and we did some pretty good things. I really enjoyed it. After that, universities contacted me, first with George Washington University, and they mentioned that they had a new position that was going to open, and I decided to apply for it and was accepted. So I served for 3 years as associate provost, supporting military and veteran students. And what we did was to create a number of academic programs that really supported military veterans and military affiliated students. And it was well received by them. I then received a call from the University of California, Davis, which is near Sacramento, They mentioned that they had a research nuclear reactor and they needed some support, so I agreed to do that. Served for 5 years, working for the Vice Chancellor for Research and supporting all the talented people out there with respect to operating that research reactor. And then because I'm a graduate of Catholic University, they called and said, would you be willing to come back? So I agreed. So I'm in my 5th year at Catholic University here in the Washington, D.C. area as Associate Dean of Engineering. And as of last month, I was also selected by the President to serve as the inaugural Special Assistant to the President for all things diversity, equity, and inclusion. But I'm having a lot of fun. And just wanted to let you all know that. And as we go over the academics, I want to communicate to you that early on, the choice to go to higher education really aligned with my passion and purpose. My bride of 43 years reminded me that when I was an ensign right after graduation from the Naval Academy, that I had mentioned to her that at some point I wanted to serve at a university supporting students. I didn't remember it, but any of you that are married, typically your spouse can remember things like that. Fast forward, I'm in higher education. So my passion and purpose is to serve others through leadership. And what do I mean by that? It's really, I found that if I read a lot of books on leadership, if I listened to the wisdom of others, and if I course corrected in my ability to lead and inspire others, I could get better and perhaps move up in the organization that would allow me to serve more and more people. And so I think that's why I'm here on this earth, is to serve and support others in some sort of leadership capacity. For my situation, I was assigned to a submarine and I completed that first assignment, and it made a couple of deployments and then was assigned ashore in the Washington, D.C. area. And Lieutenant Williams went around to most of the universities in the DC area to try to determine where I could pick up a master's degree. So I visited George Washington University and Georgetown, and I found Catholic University. And I compared them all, and I knew that in order to complete a master's degree in a shorter period of time, I had to find a university that was sort of flexible and would allow me to finish it at night. And Catholic University was that university. So I selected it, but I majored in engineering, so Master of Science in Engineering. And I thoroughly enjoyed the academics. And although my plan was to get out of the Navy, when I discussed it with my bride, I said, well, you know, I truly learned a lot in this master's program. And I think that it might be best for me to do one more tour and to apply some of the things that I learned. So I did one more tour as a chief engineer on a submarine, and direct application of what I learned in the Master of Science program, engineering management, to being a chief engineer on a submarine, and the crew did really well. And of course, I did follow-on tours. But Catholic University, you know, is a small university, relatively small, in Washington, D.C., private. But the instructors are very good, and they make sure that you you actually learn the material. So it's a good school. It worked out for me. And then from an education standpoint, later in my career, I was afforded an opportunity to pick up a certificate from Harvard in national and international security affairs, and learned a lot just during that short period by taking that certificate. And again, the direct applicability to my career later, I was afforded the opportunity to serve as a fleet commander, but my other role was a NATO support role where I had 22 countries represented in our headquarters, and the whole national and international security affairs was germane to everything that we were trying to do. So the message that I just communicated is that my passion, I described that, the education and the career linkage sort of worked out for me, and it continues to work out. So as we talk about academics today, I wanted to talk about, competitive advantage in everyone's career that you may have. And first, I'd like to say that, it's my humble assessment that a graduate education certificate can provide Service Academy graduates with a competitive advantage going forward. Now, particularly with my role at George Washington University, Associate Provost for Military and Veterans Affairs, I saw that military veterans sometimes have a competitive advantage when going for certain career roles. But that said, the education is also very, very important. And I saw that with my students at UC Davis as well as Catholic University. I've also talked a little bit about my passion and purpose, and I think that that's an important factor to consider actually before considering the discipline or the academic area that you want to pursue at the graduate level, because it's my conviction and my experience that if one connects your passion and purpose with education and the career that you pursue, then it's almost nirvana. It's one where you wake up with a smile on your face most days, and there's nothing like every single day you're doing something where you feel as though you're fulfilling your purpose in life, and you have the education that makes you a bit more successful as you serve in that career. So that's one of the key things, before we start talking about academic disciplines. And it is my homework to you, since this is about academics, is for everyone to take some time and to try to determine what your passion and purpose is in life. It takes some reflection. It takes looking forward in the future. But I truly believe that everyone is on this earth for a reason. And if you can, with your bride or your significant other, you have a conversation, and if you're able to determine why you're here, then I would encourage everyone to consider, what graduate education should I pursue that is on top of the Service Academy degree, that may be on top of a graduate degree that I may have? What sort of graduate certificate option would I want to pursue that is aligned with that passion and purpose? And then step 3 is, what career is out there that is relevant to many of the organizations and what they're thinking about in the future. So it's kind of a 3-step process. Most people don't think about it in these ways. That's the way I think about it. And if you think about, I'm going to use my hands. So you have a circle that's passion and purpose, and then you have an intersecting circle that is education, and then another one intersecting that's career. If you can find that sweet spot in the middle, that I think that's a great solution. So I think graduate certificates at any top university is a good thing to consider. I found that it's a refresher in critical thinking. It's a refresher in strategic thinking. It helps you to potentially add value to an organization based on what those organizations are thinking about in the future. And also, it can be affordable. And I think you'll hear a little bit more about the options to fund grad school on October 6th in another webinar, so I won't get into that. But at this point, I would ask everyone to think about what is the future of work globally? And this is really exploring one of those circles, the career piece. And I think most of you have seen on TV or read about or heard about many of the changes that are occurring globally with work. And many of the organizations out there are adapting and changing in order for them to be competitive. And so I've got a series of questions regarding careers and the future of work that I'd like to throw out there, and not with any particular answer, but just something, since this is an academic session, to think about. So first is, what about leading and managing the future of work in an age of artificial intelligence, a subset of that, which is machine learning, autonomous systems, cybersecurity vulnerabilities, additive manufacturing, on and on and on. There was on 60 Minutes not too long ago, there was a segment on Intel and what they were doing to increase production of microchips. And in that segment, it had the leader there, and it had millions of dollars of equipment. And if you looked at it, you only saw a handful of people there, but they were producing a lot of microchips. The same images exist at many other organizations. A lot of the big companies are going with autonomous systems, robots that can learn, and that sort of thing. So what does that mean? So let's say that you're going to be a leader at this organization, and you're going to have a mix of people and machines. What do we have to do differently to ensure that we take care of our people while the machines are doing a lot of the work? How do you lead and manage that? Another aspect is ethics. So if you read, in Washington Post over the last few months, there have been several articles about companies like Google, Twitter, Facebook, and others who are dealing with issues associated with some of their artificial intelligence programs. They're making some mistakes, and some people, some of the leaders have had to apologize for some of the mistakes that have made with some of their artificial intelligence programs. So who's accountable for those mistakes when you're dealing with robots and autonomous systems and artificial intelligence? Do you track down the human that programmed it, or is it always the CEO or the chief operating officer You know, who's the accountable human when a machine makes a mistake, and why? These are things that these companies are thinking about, and they've actually come up with a term, ethical artificial intelligence. And so they're really thinking about this, and they're trying to address it. So another example, I guess I'd like to mention is when you look at legal ramifications, the same sort of thing. I remember looking out of a periscope, and we were the first submarine in history to engage in combat operations with Tomahawk cruise missiles. So I'm looking out at a periscope, and I could see the missile come out of the forward vertical launch tubes, go up over the shoulder, and travel about 1,000 miles to engage the target. And I really did think about, okay, we're going to engage with essentially an autonomous system called the Tomahawk cruise missile, 1,000 miles. And what if it didn't hit the target and instead hit something else, civilian or what have you? You know, how do you feel as the person in charge on that submarine? And the same sorts of scenarios occur today, you know, from a legal standpoint and an ethical standpoint. We have to think about it. Cybersecurity, company X incurs a significant cybersecurity breach. Is it appropriate to track down the human that made that mistake? And how do you deal with it? And I will also mention that one of the programs that we established is in support of a private company, Huntington Ingalls Industries, Newport News Shipbuilding. And at their request, we stood up a Master of Science in Computer Science program where a cohort of students are pursuing 2 different degree concentrations. One is software development for industrial control systems, and the other is cybersecurity for industrial control systems, because that particular company is concerned about their cranes being hacked, or the systems that they put on ships being hacked and taken over. And so this Master of Science in Computer Science program that we developed is helping them. And one of the instructors that we have teaching the course recently went to an annual conference. The conference is called Black Hat and DEF CON, and it's the world-class hackers. They show up, and there's another term of art, certified ethical hacker. So they come, companies come, and basically they describe how they can get into your systems and in detail, and it's very much a learning opportunity for all who attend. Well, the professor that attended this encouraged us to buy the video, which they offer. So we did, and we put it in our library, and so it's available to students. And so since I sit in on classes that are taught, I sat in this Monday on their course, and I saw one of these videos from that conference. Absolutely amazing. There's no way that the speed and pace and tempo of innovation can be replicated in any textbook. Textbooks are great. We still need them, and they provide the fundamentals. But when you're talking about a lot of these future of work technologies that I'm referring to, it's best to go to conferences, get the videos from the conferences and talk to the experts, supplemented by textbooks. And that was the case here. And the students who were in the class learned a lot and really enjoyed it, and were amazed by these certified ethical hackers. more on future of work, education and training, so what education and training will be need for the next generation of workers? Will artificial intelligence and machine learning be more effective than human learning? What are the implications? Leadership and management, leading and managing a hybrid workforce, machines and humans. What's the right mix? What are the best practices nationally and globally? Performance management, the same kind of thing. How do you measure, monitor, control, or smaller footprint of humans, perhaps, with more machines? I don't know, but if I were going on to a second career, I would want to be a part of the human element that can be involved to help the leaders come up with the best answers. There's also economic, social, and political ramifications with all this. What are the impacts of a hybrid machine and human workforce? Could we wind up with human migration because of the potentially smaller number of quality careers and jobs happening? Will people start to move to the cities and the locations in the world where those careers are? Could you see people move around? I don't know. Additive manufacturing, what's it going to do to the global supply chain? I don't know. These are questions that I pose for you with respect to the careers, and then back into the graduate certificates that could apply to those as they could be aligned with your passion and purpose. So I'd like to go on to some of the graduate certificates, and I really want to mention that again, that any top end university has certificates, and a lot of the things that I'll talk about now, but I'm just going to talk about some of the ones that are Catholic University. But again, check any of the other universities. You'll find similar things or more things. Engineering management, everything that I just talked about, the future of work. Engineering management program offers 4 different certificates, and hopefully you can see on the screen, what they're designed to do, and the number of courses and so forth. And they're all offered online as well as face-to-face and off campus in Alexandria, Virginia. But the program has been around for about 45 years and has a history of having some pretty talented people involved. And when I looked at who had graduated from that program, engineering management program, I found 8 3 stars, Navy 3 stars, 1 4-star admiral who's currently serving, by the way, and also a civilian senior executive service 3-star equivalent. And so and when you talk to each of them, they'll tell you that it really did help them. But I'd like to show a little video, and I think this has been running on the SACC website, but the folks who will talk a little bit, it's only a couple minutes, are involved in the engineering management program. So if you bear with me.
The engineering management program is a series of courses built by Catholic University to really enhance leaders' abilities to address organizational effectiveness, building on undergraduate level skills. This provides a senior level perspective in understanding the fundamentals of leadership, technology, and also the business acumen to move an organization forward.
From my perspective, the degree was the natural choice. As I was leaving the Navy, just tried to do an inventory of my skills, and I kept being split between, well, I'm a technical person. Well, no, really, I'm a leader. When I was looking for opportunities and ways I could leverage both, I found more and more employers want someone that was capable of both. And I thought the engineering management program was really just a real good chance to polish some of the skills I developed early on in the Navy and help grow them into a stronger skill set.
What we're looking for and who would most benefit is somebody that has been in the workforce a while, gained some fundamental skills at and observed and been a good student of how organizations function. This is not somebody that's just punching the clock and just doing something because that's what they expect to do, but rather we've got dedicated people that are working full time, which means they're bringing their business perspectives, their job perspectives to the classroom. And that really provides sound, real practical world examples and issues to discuss.
When you look at the list of distinguished graduates from the COA's engineering management program, you can't help but notice there's a lot of people in senior leadership positions, whether within the Department of Defense, civilian federal agencies, or even from the private sector. The people that their careers have continued to be successful and have been able to tackle hard tasks.
Catholic University has built a program over 40 years, which really is focused and tailored, particularly for graduate students, particularly in the DC area. I myself went through this program a while ago, and I found it invaluable, and it was tailored to what I needed, particularly in the government and defense arena for technology, finance, budgeting, all those kind of skill sets which really needed.
Okay, next I'd like to talk about graduate certificate in additive manufacturing. That's a part of the material science and engineering program. And hopefully you can see on the slide the focus areas. The thing that we added that's different than any other program that I've seen for additive manufacturing or 3D printing is the decision factors. So certainly a program like this has got to include an understanding of material science and engineering. When I've gone around and asked some of the experts in this area, and I asked, well, what was your degree in, your background? And it's really kind of all over the map. And we thought it was important that to have a few people who truly understood material science and engineering if you're going to be 3D printing things in metal or polymers. We also focus on design as well. Why do we build it this way? Why is it that particular design? Why can't we design it a different way? But the decision factor piece is when you create something via additive manufacturing, and you put it in a system, what are the concerns that you might have from a systems perspective when you take a component that was developed via additive manufacturing and you put it in a system that has other traditionally manufactured components? I don't know. How long should you keep that component in there? What are the decision factors? So what we added in this program were a couple of engineering management courses. One is decision analysis. The other is engineering risk management. And we think that with this, it really provides those folks who might be interested in this area with the credentials that they would need to move forward. And I just wanted to share with you one email that I received last month from a student. This person was in the material science and engineering program, master's level, and he commenced the additive manufacturing graduate certificate as a part of that. And the student became one of the first 3 students to graduate with this particular certificate. Well, his email, I'll just share with you. He says, Yesterday, I accepted an offer with an additive manufacturing company in Austin, Texas. Goes on to what he'll be doing. I wanted to share the good news and let you know that the AM program at Catholic gave me some great experience, which was obvious to the company in the interview process, and it was very unique and sought after at the moment. In fact, I had offers from a few companies who were interested in my additive manufacturing knowledge and experience. Much of the company is former mechanical engineers and polymer engineers who have switched over to additive manufacturing. So they have a lot of industry experience, but not much in the AM world. So this student sort of had a competitive advantage. And there are other stories like that. I'd like to move on to the next graduate certificate, electrical engineering, computer science. We administer this one with the Army at Fort Belvoir, Virginia. We developed a signal processing and data sciences certificate to satisfy their needs. And you can see the requirements there. Another, we developed a program for Naval Sea Systems Command and Huntington Ingalls Industries, Newport News Shipbuilding, electrical engineering called power electronics. And this is really kind of the way that things, we're headed globally. Many of the ships and submarines that are being developed are going to consider capabilities where you're using DC power instead of alternating current. And so power electronics covers a lot of that. You can also think about the companies Tesla and going electric is really a trend globally. So we developed this power electronics certificate, and we've been administering it we're in our 4th year, and we've got a number of their employees that have completed the certificate, and we've received great feedback, and 5 are completing their master's degree in this area as well. And I presume that they're going to be able to move up in their organization. And one of the things that we wanted to ensure, since not everyone is an electrical engineer, undergraduate, we think that some of you out there who are not electrical engineers can actually take this as well. And so we've identified some things that if you've taken some sort of education or training in certain areas, you might be able to finish this program successfully. Also, data analytics is an important area, so we developed a program there, and the other, of course, like many universities, cybersecurity and privacy is listed as well. And as we're wrapping up, the other is we are aligned with the Navy at Naval Surface Warfare Center, Carter Division out in West Bethesda, and mechanical engineering. We developed an acoustics certificate, which some of their employees are taking, but we've been with Carter for many years, and Catholic University happens to have one of the top 10 programs in acoustics, so we're helping them as an organization, and as the employees take the courses, helping the employees to be able to move up as well. So you can see the points of contact for the academic programs that I described at Catholic University. You'll also note that we've got a Director of Military and Veteran Student Services, Stephen Murphy, who's a West Point grad. He's been with us for a couple of years doing a phenomenal job. So you can contact him as well. And before I show you the next video, I just wanted to reaffirm the important points that I tried to bring up during this particular discussion. And before I receive some of your questions, that I really do believe that graduate education certificates can add value in your careers. And again, providing a refresher with respect to critical thinking, strategic thinking, inspiring new thinking, knowledge and understanding align with the employer's current and future needs. And by adding value to each of you in your ability to succeed when you do land in the career that you would like to be in. And again, consider the homework assignment that I assigned, because I think that's the beginning of the whole chain of events when you consider education and the career afterwards. So if you don't mind, my last slide is here.
We are a light in the capital of the most powerful nation on earth, commissioned to influence and serve. We are a beacon of hope, an institution preserving intellectual freedom, offering the lens of Catholic faith. And we are a garden, a place to sow seeds of truth, illuminating hearts and minds that will go and bring life to the places where they're planted. This is a community where students find lifelong friendships in an environment that feels like family, where future leaders are challenged to think deeply. Some develop breakthroughs, some uncover their calling, some compete at a level they never dreamed possible, but all are equipped with the gift of the finest Catholic education, ready to give back to society with their greatest potential. This is a destination for faculty seeking to do the best work in their fields, where looking into the deepest mysteries of the universe stirs profound awe and wonder. A place to make music that stirs our souls. A place to imagine structures that inspire and draw us in. And this is a space committed to religious study, to strengthen faith in God, and address issues that our modern society faces. The Catholic University of America will light the way for the next generation of students and faculty, those drawn to the opportunity to study in this special environment. We will increase support to bridge the gap and attract the best and brightest. Women and men choosing love and justice, sent out to their families, jobs, and communities. We will light the way forward for our nation, leveraging our location and giving students and faculty avenues for access and opportunities to influence. And we will light the way for our culture. We will offer solutions that improve the human condition, helping to cure diseases, thinking deeply about ethics and science, striving to multiply our impact in the world. We will listen and wrestle with hard questions. Our voice is more important than ever. We are gaining momentum, and our hearts are filled with pride. This is an institutional renaissance. The physical campus and student experience is being infused with new life as a result of passion poured out. Every facet of our university will be impacted by this investment. The plans we have will be realized through generous support. We are united by vision and compelled to action, because this is a call to all those who will stand with us. Open wide the doors. We will shine brightly, and we will not be hidden. We are the Catholic University of America, and we will light the way.
Okay, thank you everyone for listening, and I turn it over back to Tanya.
Thank you very much, Admiral Williams, or Dean Williams, pardon me. We do have a question, and it is, if I have a master's degree already, does it make more sense to get a second master's, or will a certificate program get me in the door.
Yeah, thank you for the question. Part of it will be the affordability piece. You know, if you're able to get a full second master's degree. But I think what's important is education that adds something over and above what you already have from a skill and knowledge standpoint. So if you already have a graduate degree in something, and if you consider the future of work and what companies are going to need, my recommendation is to consider a graduate certificate. It's shorter time, less money, you can get it. And from a resume standpoint and from an interviewing standpoint, you show that you're still interested in learning, and you pick up a skill with knowledge that really may appeal to the company that you're applying for. So it's everything's up to you, but that's just some thoughts that I have. Thanks. Good question.
Okay, it looks like we're getting another question. It's coming in here. Just a moment. Oh, it's taking a moment to get it in here. If anyone has a question for Dean Williams, go ahead and type that into the Q&A and we'll get an answer for you. I can see that it's typing, but it's taking a moment to come in. Oh. Well, while we're waiting for that question to come in, can you tell us more about what you're doing with the collaboration with Huntington Ingalls?
Sure, that's one of several organizations we're affiliated with, but again, it's, you know, companies are thinking about, you know, their vulnerabilities and their opportunities to remain competitive. And align with some of the things that I've talked about, they're just concerned about some of these autonomous systems or robotic systems and capabilities, and for a bad actor to get involved and to potentially take over that system. We have no evidence that that's happened, but they wanted some of their employees to actually, you know, become more knowledgeable in this area. Now, there's another dynamic here. They've got perhaps not like under other companies, a cadre of folks that are software development individuals, and another cadre that are cybersecurity experts. And you know, like some big organizations, they do their own thing, and what this particular company did was, well, let's get them together and take the course together. And so we actually have software development people in with cybersecurity people, and they're learning from each other, such that when the software development people do their job, they're thinking more about embedding the cybersecurity protections in the software rather than trying to add it on later on. So I think it's pretty smart, and other companies are doing a similar thing.
Great. Okay, we've got a couple more questions. One is, I was unaware of the graduate certificates and the potential benefits in advancing my career. I've been out of the service and in the civilian workforce for 20 years. What other advice would you have?
Yeah, let me share. There was so I mentioned engineering management, and you know, folks have been around for a while. You're probably in leadership positions, but I had another email from someone, perhaps not unlike you. If I can get it here in a second, I'll just read what this particular individual wrote. basically yeah, here it is. So towards the end of the program, and this, certificates are shorter and there are lots of them that many universities offer. But this particular person said, the thing that I found most relevant to my work was how much I really didn't know about project management. I've been leading and managing projects for my company for over 20 years, and I was trained as a nuclear planner in the US Navy. Neither of these roles prepared me for the gap between what I knew about project management and what project management really is. Basically, he goes on to say he learned about project management via the School of Hard Knocks. But he goes on to say, not to be arrogant, but I have a degree in aerospace engineering, was a nuclear reactor operator on submarines, and have engaged in nearly every type of tasking that the US Navy and my company has to offer. Goes on to say that every class and every assignment has challenged me on many different levels. I've learned a lot and will certainly apply what I've learned. The professor's real world experience, willingness to discuss any and all questions, plus his ability to put perspectives on the lecture significantly help to clarify the course content. So to answer your question, for someone that's been around for a while, some of these graduate certificates and they really help you to master your craft. And, just when you think you know it, there are things that perhaps you can learn, which then can help you to select maybe a different level if you choose to do that within your organization or another organization. But take a look at graduate certificates. They really, if you want to go through the full master's program, that's fine. But a lot of them are nice, short, sweet, and relevant to what companies are looking for. Thank you.
All right, we have one last question. How does the post 9/11 bill affect graduate certificates?
Yeah. So I think on October 6th, they're going to discuss how to afford graduate education. But what I will tell you from my experience is that you've got benefits and you can apply it to graduate certificates or degrees or what have you. From an affordability standpoint, certificates typically are really just 4 or 5 courses. Most master's degrees are 10 courses, unless you do a thesis, which is fewer courses, generally 2 courses shorter. But point being is time and money. So a certificate, 4 courses, depending on your pace, you could finish it in 1 year or 2 years or a year and a half. Whereas a degree, typically taking 1 course at a time, it might take you 2 years or more. So, weigh those options, and the benefits can be applied to that. So when the benefits person talks about it, with a certificate, you can probably take the 4 courses and get the certificate and apply for the career you want and have enough money left over for your spouse and or your dependents. So that's one way to think about it. Thanks for the question.
All right, well, I guess that wraps up our Q&A. Let's see here. Thank you again, Dean Williams, for sharing this information with us about certificate programs and how they can impact your career. And for everyone in attendance, thank you for participating tonight. Be sure to visit Dean Williams and the team from Catholic University on October 6th. They'll have more information about certificate programs, but they'll also be representing the School of Engineering and can answer any questions you have about possibly applying to graduate school there. So again, thanks so much. Everyone have a great evening, and we will see you here again next week.
Thanks, Tanya.
Good
And
night.
everyone.